Hey, listen, today we're talking about the clever coffee dripper. Better than the French press in two ways. Find out why here on Bean Basics. Oh, hey there. Welcome to Bean Basics with Bob and Michelle. Welcome to sunny Saugatuck, and welcome to the Obis Labs. Hey, listen, today we're talking about the clever coffee dripper, and that's an immersion method, just like the French press. Immersion is whenever you have water surrounding the grounds, not going through the grounds per se, and that's the method of extraction. But the reason I'm going to talk about the clever today, because as much as I like the French press, and you've heard me talk about a variety of techniques, like when we did the Frank Green episode, and we'll put that up there. But there's still two problems with the French press. One, you get a lot of fines in your cup, and two, it's a messy cleanup. And the clever is an immersion method, just like the French press, but no fines and no messy cleanup. So let me go ahead and walk you through that whole deal. All right. Well, you know, when you look at this, it looks a lot like a Melita filter, but you know, the one thing that's different about this is that there's a stopper on the bottom here that gets released when you set it on a container, and you'll see that in a little bit here. It is the same in the sense that it does take a filter, and it takes, you know, essentially a number 4 Melita filter. And whenever you have a filter, you want to sort of fold it on these ridges, and that does give it some rigidity. And you've seen in other episodes where we talk about the idea of wetting your filter down, and the reason to wet your filter down is to get rid of that paper taste. And then the other reason we like to do it is to sort of heat up the vessel, so that when you put the water in later, the vessel doesn't steal the heat away from the water or the coffee brewing process. So we'll just let that sit for a second like this, and this is the first time you're going to see this. This is just going to go right through. So that water's been sitting in there. It's sort of like magic, but it's the kind of magic that we like. All right, well now we basically have to set up our water and coffee ratio. Let me go ahead and get the scale on. And you know what? I'm going to pull this scale up a little bit here so we can all see it. And
I think I have to come in closer for people to
sure.
see the scale.
Yeah, okay. And I need to tear it out. Here's the tear button. That means take it back to 0, right? So we're starting with 0. We need to get our coffee. And now the clever holds about 400 milliliters of water. And you know our ratio, right? It's about 6 grams per 100. So we're going to put in 24 grams of coffee. And today we're going to use our BIGGBY Coffee Living Hope. And baby, if you don't mind coming in and getting a little closer on that. This is a special coffee for us. This comes out of Zambia. This is one of our Farm Direct coffees. And Farm Direct means that we have a special relationship with the farm. We eliminate all the brokers. And we verify that the farm is treating its people right, and it's treating the planet right, and that it has some community project. And if you want to know more about that, you'd go to our blog, onebigIslandspace.com with 2 G's. Well, let me get focused here. I'm going to need 24 grams of coffee, and babe, hopefully you'll help me count on this. This should be about 15 or so. What am I? 14.3. All right.
23.2.
All right, it's getting close. I need just a little bit more, right?
Right. 24.2.
That's it. We need 24. The 0.2 is not going to matter that much. You know, we do like weighing the coffee in the water so that we have a starting point. You know, maybe we would need to adjust this later to be more coffee, but we know where we're starting with on the coffee, right? It's 24 grams. Let's say we thought it was a little weak when we were done. We could take the 6 grams per 100, maybe take it to 7 grams per 100, or what have you. Now, this is a coffee we're familiar with, and so I'm really comfortable with that particular weight. Now, the other thing you'll note is I use pre-ground coffee today. You know, I love using fresh ground coffee, using the Baratza Encore to get fresh ground, but one of the things that's nice about an immersion method, whether it's a French press or it's the clever, is it's very forgiving, right? It's a very forgiving extraction. And it doesn't really matter that it's pre-ground. Of course, it needs to be fresh pre-ground. There's no doubt about that. All right, I need to tare out again. And let me find my tare button. Because now we're going to add 400 milliliters or 400 grams of water. Milliliters and grams in water are the same. And I'm going to start the timer. Is that my timer button right there?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, you know, my first stop on this with 24 grams of coffee is about 50 grams of...
50, 60.
That's good. That's good. The fact that it's 60, 50, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a stir because I want the coffee to bloom just a bit. Blooming is not as important in an immersion method, but I still like the exercise of it. And now we're going to continue on adding the rest of our water. And so looks like we're at about 100. We're taking this to 400. And what's our time right now?
It is 39 seconds.
Okay, good. And our total time on this, in this brew chamber before we release it, is going to be 3 minutes. So the total time will be a little bit more because it takes time to draw it down, right? But we want about 400 milliliters in here. I know I've hit the 300 mark. 350. I know I'm getting close. What am I at?
I have to come in to see.
That's all right.
398.5. 400.
Okay, good. That's exactly where we want that to be. And my time right now is 1:20. When that hits 1:50, I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir because I want the grounds in this particular case to begin to fall to the bottom. So at about 1:50, which I'm at 1:34 right now, I'm going to do it early because I'm going to be talking at the same time. I'm going to give the grounds a stir. And what happens when you put this coffee and water together initially in a free-floating immersion method is the grounds want to all sort of float to the top, and there's like a layer of grounds sitting right on the top. By giving it a stir, they begin to sift to the bottom. And that's good, and that's okay, and that's actually what we like. Okay? Now, the other thing that we need to do at this point, I'm going to get this scaled down to where I can see it a little bit better. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. We're at about 2 minutes right now. So the last fussy thing that we're going to do with this, but keeping in mind that the immersion method is not too fussy, but the one fussy thing that we're going to do is we're going to skim the scum. And baby, if you don't mind coming in, you know, we have this layer of light brown on top. We stirred the coffee, the grounds are starting to fall, but we want to sort of take this layer of light brown and eliminate it. In coffee parlance, it's called scum. That's not a very friendly sounding name, but it's not a great contributor to the flavor profile, and we don't mind if we remove the scum. And you know, we've been working diligently with this. We should be at about 3 minutes. I'm guessing that we are. And so that means we're ready to do our drawdown. And the drawdown is so simple because it happens just like that.
So cool.
Mm-hmm. And you know, if you're doing this at home, there's a lot of theater to this that's kind of fun for your guests, and they would think you're a genius if you were making this particular coffee in front of them. And you know, when I say that it's forgiving and not fussy, not too fussy, it really isn't. It's really hard to make a bad cup of coffee using this particular method. All right, we can see the drawdown is happening pretty fast. You know, even though this was pre-ground coffee, it's not getting jammed up at all, and away it goes. All right, I'm not going to wait for the last few drops. I'm going to go ahead and give that. We could, but I'm not going to. But I'm going to pour myself a cup at this point and give it the old taste-a-roo. And see if everything I said is true. Yeah, that's a perfect cup of coffee. Really easy to do. Another immersion method Oh, by the way, did I say cleanup was easy? It is. Here's how easy it is. Ta-da! Out comes the filter and the coffee. You want to get that in your compost bag to be put out with your, what is the container outside that we use?
Yard waste.
Yard waste, right? So that's easy to do. All right, that's about all the time that we have. But before we go, I want to leave you with this idea. That is that one big island in space is about this. One planet, one people, one community. Now, if you liked what we talked about today, go ahead and leave those in the comments. If you didn't like it, go ahead and leave it in the comments too. If you liked everything that we did, hit the like button for us. One last note, when you love the world will love you right back. Hey, thanks for joining us. For future episodes, click the subscribe button. Being Basics is brought to you by OneBigIslandInspace.com with 2 G's.